This program is suitable for general viewing.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Faisal Kassim and welcome to Live Real Talk, where tonight we will be talking about the status of higher learning, or rather financing higher learning education in this country, bearing in mind that in this administration the government has reduced some of the favors or has suspended some of the goodies that used to go towards supporting the education, which of course the burden has gone back to the taxpayer or the common Mwananchi. Why? Because the varsities rather, they've had to review the fees upwards, which again has put the voter or the common Mwananchi in a situation where he has then to analyze the whole spectrum or the whole situation. Then this higher learning, is it really a priority? Is it a need or is it a want? So right here tonight we'll be talking about financing of higher learning institutions. And who is better to talk about this sector or this topic other than someone who is dealing with financing of higher learning? I'm talking about Ali Haji Ngaruiya, who is the marketing manager at Africa Education Development Trust. My name is Faisal Kassim and join me tonight as we are working this journey. Ali, assalamu alaikum, bro.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Mambo, bro? Kusalama. Last week you're supposed to come, but again, traffic ni aje?
Mvua tena. But
at least I got here. At least you got here. We had the discussion and we are going to do it tonight.
True.
Karibu sana, my brother. Always a pleasure having you.
Asante, thank you.
Right. And Ali, so because of time, we're actually looking at 22 minutes past 8 o'clock and we just need to jump on straight into the conversation. Higher learning has, or rather is proving to be a challenge right now in the country, of course, given what I mentioned in the introduction about the fees or about the financial aspect that comes to it. But again, before we go on to that, this government, when they were campaigning to come into office, one of the key or their rallying call was bottom-up economic transformative agenda. What is your take on the general economic situation of this country before we dig into the conversation?
Thank you very much, Faisal, for having me today. I think my general opinion on the current state of economy, we are not yet out of the woods, because the government is still struggling to pay debts, and that's why they have withdrawn some of the subsidies in various sectors. In the education sectors, they have made very huge reforms. Also in the agriculture and maybe other sectors, they have also removed some of the subsidies, like fuel subsidies was removed, that made some of the cost of living to shoot up. And many Kenyans currently are struggling to put food on the table. Others have lost their employment because some companies have pulled out because there's no business. There's no business anymore. And I think we're not yet out of the wood. And for us to even do better, I think we need to focus more on educating our people, giving them at least basic education, so that at least they can be able to struggle and figure things out, inshallah.
Oh, thank you so much. Of course, education is one of the basic necessities. Of course, that was declared with the Kibaki administration when they came into power in 2002. To an extent, they even declared that if you found you have your child at home and he's not going to school, then you're going to be found, you're going to be liable, you're going to be fined or jailed. That was, of course, for primary education at that time. And, of course, as per the Kenyan culture or the African culture, it is always that you go to primary, get good grades, go to a good secondary, get good grades again, you qualify to get into university, and you perform well, you major in whatever course, and immediately then you go into the working sector, you get into the employment sector, you get your employment, you get a job, get some income, and immediately after that, then you're expected to support your family. So basically, this has been the trajectory of any other Kenyan, of course, growing up. Nowadays, things have been changed. Things have changed a little bit. But again, still, the expectation from the parents is still more or less the same. So coming back to you, now that one arm of this whole education chain has been affected, that is the university, people are struggling, as you've rightly put, that they're struggling even to put food on the table at the end of the day. So then, will this education that has been affected this much, do you think now it's a priority? Will they see it as a priority where he has to choose whether to pay school fees for university or providing a meal at the end of the day, or paying for rent, or paying for bills, right? So it affects the university education. What do you think about that?
Okay, I think major reforms have been done since the Kibaki era, and these reforms were made to ensure that Kenyans get well educated, so that we can build a human capital. In the Uhuru era also, there are various reforms that were done, given that the CBC was now introduced, and then now in the UDA government, now they're implementing the same. And I think financing for education has become very much costly, in that many people are not are taking it as not a priority to educate their students anymore. And they want them to get jobs so that at least they can do other things. Now, my take is that education is very important, because people need education so that at least they can be able to figure things out. Because if you are not educated, then it means that you will not be in a position to secure employment, you will not be in a position to at least get something that can give you income. Basically, I'm talking about tertiary education, that is a TVET education, university education also very important. But now, with this reform whereby the UDA government changed the COOPS financing model, which was a blockchain model, whereby any student who got a C+ and above will be given government financing without any scrutiny. They introduced a new model of financing for higher education based on 4 things, whereby students who are very needy and vulnerable will get 100% government financing, and students who are at least needy but not very vulnerable will get at least 93% financing, and the other 7% will come from the households. That is a family contribution and other things. And then the students who are less needy will at least get HELB loans from, that is the Higher Loans Education Board. And you find that the whole issue of changing from the blockchain model to this other issue has affected parents, because the plan is there, but the implementation has become a challenge, because given that this is a new year, this model started in May, and now we're in actually started May, and then now May, September, December, and now this is a new semester. January intake. Parents have not yet seen how this model works, because others want to pull their students from the public universities and take them to private universities, because
but again, just to jump in there and to further throw a spanner into the works, even with the previous model, the Muslim students in particular, they were affected, because before that there was the HELB, the Higher Education Loans Board, and of course, when paying back, you have to pay back with interest. So from time immemorial then, we can, I think, say that Muslims who chose not to engage in any form of interest or riba or any other bodies that are affiliated with them were disadvantaged from the system that are existing. So even right now still they are disadvantaged, right? So again, it goes back to the general discussion that you're talking about, where someone has to choose then if this is the only way that they can support education, and he's at a point or she's at a point where she cannot finance it, then she has to choose between education and something else.
True.
Right? Or what is your experience at, for example, AEDT when dealing with such matters?
Okay, I think there are various models of financing for higher education, whereby the government gives funding through the higher loans, higher education funding. And then there's now the Higher Loans Educational Board, which gives loans. And these loans have interest, and which is a disadvantage to the Muslim community. And now AEDT comes in as an external partner, whereby we try to supplement or to complement the government or Higher Loans Educational Board and other sectors who are financing education in making sure that students have access to affordable education financing. Because as Africa Education and Development Trust, we have a very unique program or a unique product for the Muslim community, which normally gives them loans or higher loans, higher education loans without any interest. So it means that if you're a student pursuing PhD, we finance you from first year up to when you graduate, and then give a repayment plan, and whereby you'll pay in flexible monthly installments. So making it very much affordable for these students. If you're a master student, we still do the same for you. If you're a bachelor student, we do the same for you. Okay? So this actually is giving the parents a relief in terms of now if they want to maybe thinking about the way you just said. Many parents are not taking, they're thinking of, should I put food on the table or should I take my student to the university? Now, Africa Education and Development Trust is providing this solution for them, because now they can be able to take the student to the university and at the same time afford the basic needs for the family.
Interesting. So what are some of the stories that we've come across, for example, when doing any activations, or what are some of the success stories that we've come across when engaging with the beneficiaries of the program?
Okay. I think most importantly, as Africa Education and Development Trust, currently we have supported so many students, over 2,500 students, to pursue higher education. And out of these, we have seen 558 graduate. And in this, we have very unique program with Umma University, whereby we provide scholarships for bright but needy students. When I remember last year, we went to Mandera to actually pass on the message, the good news to the people of Mandera. And I met this young lady who came from a very humble background. And parents were actually thinking about marrying the girl off, so that at least they can relieve themselves of the burden of seeing the girl there, and they are not able to afford higher education. So, and the girl had performed very well. She had a B+. So, through Umma University Student Support Program, we were able to secure a scholarship for her. Actually, we secured an 80% scholarship for her, and she joined Umma University to pursue nursing. And now she's in her second year. The transformation has been very amazing in that when I meet with her now, she sees Africa Education and Development Trust and she starts crying, because she pictures back then when she was very vulnerable, not in a position to afford higher education, and now she's in a very prestigious university pursuing the course of her choice, the dream course of her choice, and she's to graduate and now become a nurse, go back to the community and give back. I think this is a very inspiring story. Another story is myself here. I remember when I joined university in the year 2010. I was in KCA University pursuing finance. I only got to study for one semester. And then my parents were not in a position to afford financing, so I had to drop out. And in this process, I became a conductor, matatu conductor in Kayole. So I used to be a conductor in Kayole. Beba. Yes. And 3 years later, I came to pray here in Jamia Mosque, and I saw a poster of Africa Education and Development Trusts. If you're interested in a soft loan to study in any university of your choice in Kenya and outside Kenya, we are giving soft loans to
So you're a beneficiary of AEDT?
Yes, I'm a beneficiary of AEDT. Yeah? And I took that opportunity. I applied for that loan, and they paid for me. And then they gave me a repayment plan, a very flexible repayment plan. So I used to do my matatu job and go to school at the same time and repay the loan at the same time. Yeah? So in the year 2018, I graduated and I applied for a job there, and they took me in. See? So Africa Education and Development Trust is transforming lives. So in the current economic condition, whereby parents are thinking of whether to leave or to not to take their students to the university, Africa Education and Development Trust is giving hope to these students through the University Student Support Program, through our other programs whereby we finance in any university in Kenya and abroad there. Sure.
Wow, wow, interesting. So basically what I'm trying to say is that the solutions are outside there.
Yes, yes.
I believe there's something very important that many people do not look at. For as far as talking about higher learning is concerned, particularly for people who have to travel out of their home counties, there is the learning itself, and then there are other complementary factors, right? So when someone is talking about financing higher education, there are a lot of things that are put together to make this whole learning process go on. One, there is the tuition fees, right, which of course carries the most of the baggage. There's that tuition fees. And then secondly, there are the complementary aspects, like for example, accommodation, logistics, meals, and all these things that are supporting education. So for example, when you are in the engineering school, there are the apparatus that are needed. When you are, for example, in journalism, there is what we call the studio fees, that when you have to use the studio, or you have to use the apparatus, or you have to use the equipments there, there's something that you pay. When you are, for example, a doctor or a nurse, there are the lab fees and all that, so on and so forth. So basically all these other complementing factors, of course, they are small, they are minor, but they later on form a huge part that contributes to the higher, the grander learning fees or learning process, right? So when you're talking about facilities, you're talking about loans, and you're talking about you supporting people through this process, then what part do you take part in? What part do you offset? Is it just the fees, the tuition fees, or is it the grand learning process fees?
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Faisal, for that question. For us as Africa Education and Development Trust, normally we focus on the tuition fees. But through our unique program with University, if we give you a scholarship, then the scholarship is inclusive of the hostel and accommodation. So that means that if you join University, we'll give you the scholarship, and the scholarship will also apply to the accommodation. But for the meals part, I think it's important to mention that there are some universities which have taken initiative, like we have MKU. What they normally do is that they normally charge tuition fees plus the accommodation fees, inclusive of the meals.
Oh.
So what they do is, once we pay the school fees, they will give a meal card to the student. So you find that the student is sorted, because our policy is, if we are to support you, we have to pay directly to the university account. So like universities like MKU have taken the challenge, and they have introduced meal cards. We also have other universities which are also taking the same initiatives. University is also in the process of taking the same initiative. So this means that in the near future, we will also be catering for all these minor expenses that the parents might see it as a burden.
Interesting. Because right now, so when you guys are providing, for example, the tuition fees, then the burden of this other complementary stuff still goes back to the parent.
Yes, yes.
Interesting. And I can imagine, because at some point when you accumulate all these figures, then they almost come at a parallel.
True.
Interesting. Ali, in 2022 alone, by November of 2023, sorry, the Federation of Kenya Employers, they came out and gave a presser and say that at least 70,000 people had lost their jobs. So if you're growing up and you're going through studies and you are expecting that once you complete your university study, then you'll be able to secure a good job or a good employment with a good company, with a good employer, and so on and so forth. At least there is that part of the assumption that, you know, I'll be able to secure a job because I have the education, and that is the security that we have. But again, the FKE came and announced that in that year alone, 70,000 people had lost their jobs. During COVID time, 2020-2021, we saw at least over 100 journalists who had graduated lost their jobs. Again, this goes back to the question then. People are asking themselves then, is it really necessary? Is it really important then? Is it really a must? Because if this is the one thing that when you go to any office, it is the first thing they ask for. Where is your diploma? Where is your degree? Do you have a master's? Do you have a PhD? If this is the first thing that grants you access to the door, a seat at the table for you to be interviewed, yet people who have them are shown the door at offices, then is it really necessary then?
Yeah, I think many people were affected by the COVID-19 and they lost employment. And this also affected Africa Education and Development Trust because basically for us our main model of financing is from the repayments. So it means now that if we give you the loan and you're not in a position to repay, then we'll also be affected. And for us, I think by then we took measures and we gave them a relief. So that at least we gave them at least a relief of 3 months, 1 year, depending on a case-to-case basis, so that at least they can get back on their feet and start repaying again. But now back to the question of is it really important to go to school? Now that after going to school maybe and then you come, you get retrenched and you have the papers. Yes, it's very important to go to school because if you build your human capital, it means that you can survive in any environment. So basically, if you look at the countries which are very much developed, you find that people there have like 2 jobs. You find that somebody is maybe a nurse, and the same person is also a businessman, and also maybe a taxi driver. So I think Kenyans took the challenge, and if you look at the people who lost employment then, I think I used to pass by the Eastern Bypass Road, and I saw that most of the corporates, the people who had lost employment, others retrenched, they used their cars as car boots to sell Sukuma Wiki and all that. See, so I think they took the challenge positively, and they realized that you don't basically have to depend on the white collar job. You can also do other collar jobs. There are also other platforms which employ Kenyans, like now the online platform. There are many remote jobs that Kenyans can do and still get paid.
Thank you so much. I mean, and with this, we're just diverting a little bit now from the financing bit now to the importance of this whole sector, the education sector. And another question would be that, so the fact that these people were laid off, for lack of a better word, the fact that they were laid off, it means either the company was cutting down, and when they were cutting down on their numbers, of course, they were looking at who is giving the most value, right? And it begs the question then, are our education systems, of course, university, are education systems tailored to produce people who are ready for the job market, people who are employable, people who are, or rather can contribute to the working capital of this nation, people who will actually give the employers value for them to be reconsidered and considered when people are being retrenched. What do you think about our education system? Do you think it provides or it produces people who are competent for the working market, for the job market right now?
Okay, I think we have a challenge in terms of infrastructure, because if you look at, if you compare our universities to other universities out there, many students would prefer to study in universities in other countries other than Kenya. But all in all, the systems are there. We have very good, powerful system. We have very good human capital in terms of training these professionals. But now we go back to the student who is going to this university, because the other courses, like now, let's say IT, you attend the classes, but now the lecturer will only do 25%. But for the student, you as a student will have to do the other 75%. Okay,
so that's the argument. Even in school, we were told, I mean, you're given only 20%, so you need to do 80%. Right now, you've told us 25%. It's always the argument. But again, so then why am I in school then?
I think that's
why am I paying these heavy school fees and tuition fees?
That's a very good argument. But in Swahili we say, if you go there, you must, yani ni kujituma, you must go there and study hard. And when you are there, try to network as much as possible. Okay. Try to get as many skills as possible, so that at least by the time you are graduating, you are an all-rounded graduate. You have skills in every sector. And that's why, as Africa Education and Development Trust, we take you in as a beneficiary, and then we create non-financing programs like Mentor to Empower, skills program, and also the smart volunteer, so that at least by the time you're in the university, we ensure that you are an active individual. You participate in all these mentorship programs, you participate in all these skills programs. So by the time you graduate, you have all these skills. So that means you'll be suitable for the job market. You'll also be suitable for the jua kali sector.
100%. And just again on your point about you only being given 25% or 20% in some narrations, this 80% or 75%, where am I supposed to get it from? If you're telling me IT, yes, I have, for example, the internet, I have the laptop, so where do I go? Are you giving me tools? Are you giving me directions, for example, in the media sector? So you say you're teaching me 20%, right? So this 80%, where am I supposed to get it from, right? Is it just because the fact that I have internet and it's something that everybody says, now you're also saying it? The question is, are you or are we directed? Are the students directed? Personally, I can say I'm lucky. University I went to, at least there were directions given. There were mentors provided. But generally speaking, are these platforms or opportunities, are the directions being given? Are we shown directions? Are students shown directions in these universities?
Good. I think one of the main agenda of these universities is to ensure that they invest in good infrastructure, so that when the students are there, they can make good use of their time. Like now, most universities have libraries. Most universities have Wi-Fi. Like the university I went to had free Wi-Fi. And they also have computer labs. So if you're a bright student and you want to go there and study, I think you can utilize all these resources and make good use of them. But now, are they guided? Are they directed on how to use these facilities? I think there's a gap there. There's a gap because in most universities, especially public universities, you find that the students, the management assumes that the students are adults. They know what to do at what time. But if you go to private universities, normally they invest a lot in ensuring that these students are properly guided, so that at least they can make good use of their time when they are there. So there is a gap there. And that's why, as Africa Education and Development Trust, we have tried as much as possible to make sure that our students are rightly guided. we give them mentors in our portfolio who are postgraduate beneficiaries, who guide them on how to utilize their time properly when they're in the university.
Interesting. So basically, in a nutshell, what we're trying to say in this show is that higher learning financing has been a challenge in this country, right? Particularly for Muslim students, because the Higher Education Loans Board is interest-based, and people have decided to opt out or do something else. And you've rightly come out and say that at least Africa Education Development Trust is coming and providing the option, providing a way out, right? So in the event that one wants to take part in the program of AEDT, then how do they reach you? How do they get to AEDT? How do they contact you?
Okay, good. I think before I go to that information, what we normally say as Africa Education and Development Trust is that many students miss out of the university opportunity, not because of lack of funds, but because of information on where to get the funds. Okay? Because there are various platforms whereby you can get this funding. There are institutions which offer scholarships. There are government partnership which normally give this.
And where are they? Because, boss, I mean, we don't get access to this information. I don't know about this information. I only know of AEDT because I know Ali.
True. Now, like, now, just to mention but a few, we have the Africa Muslim Agency, which normally provides scholarship for students. We have the Nama Foundation, which has partnered with Turkish universities to provide scholarship opportunities. We also have Africa Education and Development Trust, which has partnered with Turkish universities and Malaysian universities to provide opportunities for these students. And also, the other government website like Turkey Embassy, they have bursaries for bright, needy students. But now, if you want to get in touch with us, and maybe we can guide you on how to get all this information, and also maybe guide you on how to apply for our interest-free study loan. We have our social media platforms, whereby Twitter, we go at AEDT_interact. For Facebook, we are known as Africa Education and Development Trust. That's our page, or an account known as Elimisha Trust. IG, we go by the name of Elimisha Trust. And WhatsApp, you can get us through our numbers, which are 0726 919 557 or 0726 919 711. And also another number is 0712 995508. So you can make any query from these numbers. You get us on our social media platforms. We'll be able to guide you rightly on where to get this information from.
Interesting. So you guys are you're like the cartels in the industry.
Not necessarily. You're not
the cartels in the industry.
We're not the cartels.
Yes.
It's only now that we are trying to make this information available to many students, because not many students get access to internet. Other students are from the interior region of Kenya, so they don't know where to get the internet from. They don't have this information. Their parents don't have this information. Their relatives in the urban cities, they don't want them to succeed, so they don't give them this information. So that's why we are here as Africa Education and Development Trust, to make sure that these students get this information and they join university education.
Brother, thank you so much. Kuna msemo unasema, if you think education is expensive, you should try ignorance.
Ignorance is more expensive.
Ignorance is more expensive, but it will cost you way much more.
Yeah, that's true.
Ali Haji, Ngaruiya, thank you so much, my brother, for making time for us. I mean, as you rightly say, if you think education is expensive, then you should try ignorance, which is way much more expensive, and it will cost you way much more. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, education is expensive. As you've rightly seen, you've rightly experienced, is expensive, but will you be able then to bear the price of ignorance? Options are there, options are available. The only thing is that we just need to try our level best. We just need to go outside there, search for this information, and inshallah we will be able to get a solution. One important thing, one important lesson that I always get from Surah Al-Baqarah, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. You are in that situation where you think that you cannot, or you cannot afford the university education. You think you're not able, then you want to give up, you want to throw everything away. I do not think that is the right course of action. That is not right. that is not true. Do not lose hope. لا تقنطوا من رحمة الله. Do not lose hope. There are options available. As he rightly said, Africa Education Development Trust is there. Umar University have scholarship. Jamia Mosque, but again, our scholarship is limited to high school students only. And for those who get scholarships to the university, these are people who have traveled with Jamia Mosque throughout their high school period all the way up to university. These are people who qualify for this. For Jamia, the only higher education that we offer is IRE and Arabic, of course, that is, plus any other subject that you may be taking at Thogoto or the other college that are offering teaching. But long story short, all this, what am I trying to say? Do not lose hope. Do not give up. Check out what are the options available for you. What are the institutions that are offering scholarship? Do you qualify? If not, then what can you do? At the end of the day, there is always a way. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, thank you so much for keeping it live Real Talk right here on Horizon TV. See you next week, same place, same time. My name is Faisal Kassim, and this has been the Live Real Talk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
قال تعالى في محكم تنزيله بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
Ninasaha kutoka pwani.
هذا الدين قال الله قال الرسول قال الصحابة هم أولو العرفان. انتهى.
Ili kuongoza kwenye njia iliyonyoka.
Sikizeni hadithi hii ya Mtume alayhi salatu wasalam.
Hakuna atakayeweza kumfungia mtu mlango ambaye Mwenyezi Mungu aliyemfungulia.
Kuimarisha imani yako.
Thabbit qulubana ala dinik wa ala ta'atik.
Ungana na mashekh wetu kutoka pwani kwenye mimbar.
Mimbar zinamwakilisha Mtume sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Ni Jumamosi na wakati saa 3 usiku katika Horizon TV, runinga uipendayo.
Verse of the day.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
وعباد الرحمن الذين يمشون على الأرض هونا وإذا خاطبهم الجاهلون قالوا سلاما والذين يبيتون لربهم سجدا وقياما والذين يقولون ربنا اصرف عنا عذاب جهنم إن عذابها كان غراما إنها ساءت مستقرا ومقاما.
News is about facts, and here on the Muslim Insight, we go beyond the headlines.
The Qadis, apart from being judicial officials, they are also critical members of our society.
We look at all the angles of the story as we bring stories that matter to you.
I am totally convinced generations to come will have the office of the Chief Qadi.
Join us on the Muslim Insight as we bring you the weekly news recap.
Enzi za wakati wa kumsema ati alisema akasisitiza akihutubia wanahabari, enzi hizo hazipo tena.
Every Friday from 8 a.m. only on Horizon TV.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation. Pearls of Wisdom.
Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu narrated that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Whatever I have commanded you, do it, and whatever I have forbidden you, refrain from it."